You come from a very religious family.
You weren't allowed to listen to any secular music, right?
So like I got older parents. Like my dad is 73, my mama's 60. Once we got in the car, we not listening to no hip hop station or nothing. They finna play straight 95.7 Hallelujah FM, like only gospel music. But when I first started rapping, the first song I ever did before I let my daddy hear it, I was talking crazy. My dad was like, "What the is you talking about?" What the?
Wait, you played it for him?
Uh-huh. But my sister had ended up, I was in my apartment cooking one day and my mama called me. She was like, "So you do music?" I was like, "How you know?"
They shame me so hard for not being able to play in that game.
A girl from Memphis, you know, from the ghetto, and being able to be invited to the White House, like, that was everything to me.
I eat very well, but it's like, I know what it really is supposed to be.
I'm just like a lost boy trying to find something to belong to.
I'm an athlete of integrity. I never had to cheat in my life.
Here we go, season 7. But as they say, time flies when you're having fun, and time has went fast.
I always say this, we're lucky to have these jobs where we get to sit with incredible people that in all cases we're fans of, but we also learn a lot while we're here, right?
Here's to more great conversations, great moments, and of course, great style.
Always a great style.
Here's to season 7.
Cheers.
Cheers. Yo!
What's up?
Look at that guy there. What's up, brother, man?
What's up, baby?
How you been, dog?
Good to see you.
How you been, bro?
I'm in great.
You look like you're in great shape.
I'm in good
by the way.
shape. I'm back.
You're in great shape?
I'm in great shape. I'm getting even better every day.
Really?
Yeah.
You been working out?
Start on Monday.
What made you start working out hard?
I went to UCLA Pro Day the other day and was like throwing the ball around and like actually touched the NFL football again and got the itch.
Is this the first time y'all talking forever? When's the last time y'all sat and even had a
Last time I saw Mav was leaving
Nice guy?
Drake. No.
No, Drake?
The Drake
I knew
party
we was
at-
somewhere.
The Drake party at Super Bowl last year. I was walking out
Wait,
early before
This was Vegas, Phoenix.
Phoenix Drake.
I was with you.
Phoenix Drake concert. You
yes.
were walking out to get somebody and I was leaving early because it was too crazy in there. And that
That's
you were
right.
probably looking at me like I was crazy because you never see me leave a party, especially a Drake party, early
Yes.
before.
You were actually leaving the party,
Leaving.
that's right. I went to get somebody in.
Yep.
Yes, that's the last time we said hello, like
Yep.
talked. Yes.
Yeah, honestly, it didn't hit me. Obviously, we spend every day together, and, you know, we see each other in passing. I saw your interview with, you know, Uncle Shannon, and it wasn't like, oh, it hadn't hit me that y'all hadn't spoken or hadn't spent any real time since y'all worked together. Like,
Yeah, I think that's like the thing that I like kind of came out and said on Shannon because I texted you after it came out because, listen, like, as you know, there's a way that you guys move in a sense that I picked up on when I was in my time in Cleveland, my time in Akron, my time in the offices. Like, LRMR for me was 2.5, 3 years of my life. Like, now as I get to sit here as like a 31-year-old dude, like I really realize why things went the way that they did. How hard was it? You know, how hard was it dealing with me during those times? Like, and hard maybe not be the word, but like, when you want something so bad and what you and Brad and EB all wanted for me, I couldn't want for myself enough to get things done. And then like when you sit back and you have time to reflect on the totality of your life and like the people that have come into it, like I really just felt like a pressing need to like go on Shay Shay and like sit there and express my gratitude for everybody that was involved in that process. Cause I know it wasn't easy. Hey, we need you to do this, X, Y, and Z. And then you see me sitting in the condo at the 9 in Cleveland. I'm like, I ain't doing that. You got Rodney sitting there and the rest of the boys sitting there like, yo, what do you mean you're not gonna do this? Like, we got things on the schedule. So like now sitting here, 31 years old, like I have appreciation and a gratitude for all that you guys tried to do. And what we did pretty much, I mean, there's still a lot that we got done, Mav. I still feel a sense of accomplishment for everything that you did for me, that Braun did for me, that the whole crew did for me, that like will always take with me forever. Like I learned way more now with a clear head when I look back at it than I thought I ever really did.
I was watching it and I understood your point of view on it and your feeling about it. My point of view on it was I never felt like you owed owed me an apology. We worked together. We did, to your point, some great business together, did a lot of great things. I was saddened by the choices that you made as a NFL player, but more as a person. But more importantly, we had shifted, when I say we, Brad, who was his lawyer, who's a great man, EB, who was his agent. It shifted from like, get Johnny to his next contract and help him be a great quarterback to let's not let this guy die. Like, damn, let's just keep him alive. Let's keep him. It was like the football thing, that ship is sailed. He's not gonna be a football player.
And Johnny, from where you're sitting, is it like, man, paying him like was it?
Johnny was like 2-3 day bender, like you don't know where he is. Like, and when you deal with anyone in your life like that, when they go on that type, I've had aunts, uncles.
Me too.
You never know when it's the one where
one
when
time
you
that goes
finally gonna
bad.
get the call like
Yeah.
they found him in the hotel on the floor, When they go, and you would go.
Yeah, and I didn't see that at that point in time. Like, genuinely, like, I thought I was doing, like, I was living this episode out of Ballers. Like, I was in my condo in Cleveland doing whatever, like, had everything I could have ever wanted. Mav and them are so plugged. I mean, there, as you know, like, I'm rolling around the city in $300,000, $400,000 worth of cars, absolutely being a menace in the city of Cleveland. And then as I'm not playing in Cleveland, like, I'm not tapped into what we're doing as a Browns organization and as in a quarterback room. Like, I'm completely, because of the way our situation was in Cleveland, detached from it all.
What up, bro?
I get it.
Good to see you. Speaking of Cleveland.
Yeah,
For sure.
Yep, in the building, baby. What's up?
But Johnny, you also, I mean, I can laugh at it now because I'm sitting here staring at you, we're having the conversation. Yo, hey, what up, bro? What up, dog? Good to see you, brother. Respect. The
up,
one
buddy?
time I
Good to
was
see you.
really scared, Johnny, I don't know if you remember this, you came to San Antonio, and I think it was 2014 for the Heat finals, and it was like, and Johnny had this thing, we should talk about this, it was really bad when he went home. You know how everybody like home is hard, like when you got some
Like
money?
home to Texas.
Yeah.
If he went to the state of Texas,
You already knew.
hello,
Hey,
hello.
What's up, mama?
How are you?
Welcome.
Hey.
How are you?
Yeah,
to see you.
I be giving people hugs.
Yes, I like a hug too. For sure.
Hey.
Yeah, Glow.
What's up, y'all?
Yeah, Glow.
You feel me?
Johnny, when he went home, and we all got a version of this, like when he made money, if he would go to the state of Texas, the state of Texas might as well have been a black hole. He would go in and there's no telling. And you notice, Vegas was another black hole, but you didn't go as much. But if you went to Texas, it was like, that thing he's got to do on a week, forget about it.
I do want
You know what am I right?
Of course, you're absolutely
But
right.
I
mean,
feel like when he
it's
came,
it's
when he was in
anybody.
Cleveland, he brought a lot of fun to the city too. Like to be honest, like 'cause
said you were there for
I had a great time when Johnny was in the city. I definitely was looking some nights like, but how are you gonna win this next game though? Like,
I mean, we had Braun.
Forget win. How's he gonna get?
how's he gonna get to the?
How's he gonna get to the facility?
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
I do want to, you mentioned Vegas. There's been a lot of chatter about the Vegas thing. I know what I know from watching TV and some interviews of like, you ended up in Vegas and there's the talk of whether there was a disguise or not.
He was on injured reserve.
Mav didn't have much of a say in this whole part.
That's what I want to get to. Was there a conversation about Vegas,
No,
the trip?
no, absolutely not.
No, but I have the photo. I still have the photo.
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
Of course. There was no conversation, nothing.
You're going, that's it.
It was week probably 16 of the season. I had been diagnosed with like a concussion, and back-to-back years in Cleveland, I didn't play in week 17 because of injury. So the first year when I was in Cleveland and I get hurt, and the last game of the season happens, we play Baltimore, and they shamed me so hard for not being able to play in that game. They didn't even let me come on the sideline for the last game of the season. I had to sit and watch the whole game in the locker room. And this was the first point where I was like, Mike Pettin, you. And when it happened the next year, I'm like, I'm not sitting in that locker room again for week 17 of the season. And I really, really genuinely thought that I was gonna make it back in time for the game in Cleveland.
But he only had like 20 hours. He thought he could get to Vegas? First off, forget get back. You gotta get there and get back without being seen.
How do you find out he's in Vegas? How do you find out? And when?
First off, him going missing was a normal thing.
Well, he's not picking up your phone.
Nobody.
Okay.
The next thing is like NFL reports like, yeah, Johnny Football was in Vegas and he was possibly there in a disguise. Your disguise was not even that good, by the way. I'll show you guys it after this on my phone. And then like a couple of days later, he came clean. But I don't know, who did you send did you send me the picture?
I probably sent it to EB or somebody
You
at
sent
that
it to
time.
EB, and EB called me, his agent, like, I picked up the phone, he's like, this mother. I was like, I already know. He's like, I'm sending you the picture now. Look at your text. I look at the text. It's a picture of him with the worst, like, white man from sales in every company, bowl, blonde, wig on.
Oh, you had the nerve to put a wig on?
And
I went to a wig shop.
No, it's a full disguise. Glasses, a wig,
And a mustache.
and a mustache.
Now, what I never understood, was it like a joke because you're on a bender, or you really thought no one was gonna recognize you?
I was sitting down at the table, and this is something that everybody here can probably relate to, is like when you're coming up in like a life of like starting to get like famous a little bit and people are starting to know you, like the first thing you kind of want to do is like hide and like shudder away a little bit. And like I'm sitting there, I'm playing blackjack, I'm having a time minding my business, and then I look up from a hand and this guy's just looking at me, you know, that eye contact dead in the eye where he like kind of head goes sideways. And he knows, and I know that he knows who I am. So that immediately starts like the rabbit hole of your own brain going down this path of like this is gonna be on Twitter in any minute. Like the cat is out of the bag.
Yes.
But I'm already here, it's midnight, there ain't no flights back to Cleveland, like we may as well try and make this work. So I went to a wig shop out the strip and did what I could.
Had you done disguise before? That was
No,
your first time?
never. I was a complete rookie in the disguise department. and
Yeah.
Well, I want to ask, like, in doing like research, you're one of the most like documented athletes, for better or worse. I forgot that you were redshirted your first year at Texas A&M, and that first year you played, I think you almost had damn near 5,000 yards, like 4,600 or whatever total yards. How's life changed? Like from that first year to that second year, your life changes just instantly?
Yeah, instantly. I mean, it changed like gradually through the first season. Like we played 10 games before we played Alabama. And really like the Alabama game that day, walking into the stadium is like a good college quarterback, and then walking out of the stadium is like a national like phenomenon.
A legend.
And it's just like one day changed my life forever in that sense. Like, I mean, I got a chance to sign with Matt. Like, you don't get to do that from Kerrville, Texas, where I'm from. Then that one day, like, you get on Twitter. Twitter's very new at that point in time. Like, I remember LeBron following me on Twitter. I remember seeing that after that game and being like, damn, I made enough of an impact on TV that the person that like my biggest like role model, I'm the biggest fan of this guy ever, is now following me in my life and what I'm doing. I'm in my dorm room in college, lit. I think I'm on top of the world.
I mean, the one thing I can say to your point of like, just like the pressure and everything that happened, like Cleveland is a specific city that like weighs their life on the players that are on their sports teams. And I could even say that from a place of regret that I had, because I had said things about LeBron when LeBron left, and I always regretted that. But I was so close to it because my friends' moms lost jobs. Like, you guys really are the economy of the city, you know what I mean? Like, even with my position, like, I wasn't bringing the money that the athletes are bringing until as of recent, where I was able to bring $10 million into the city over a weekend or a course of 2 days, you know, when we brought our show there. Like, it's so much pressure that we put on the athletes that it almost is like, what else do you get?
Of course, it's so much, yeah, for sure. But Glo, can I ask you, because what he talked about is that after he walked into the Alabama game as Johnny Manziel, he walked out a legend.
Johnny
Literally.
football, yeah.
What was that moment for you? Because your career, you've been around, I was reading since 2019. I didn't know that. To me, it felt like it was like, oh, just like this wave. And I even felt a little bit like, the f have I been doing? How did I not know? Was there a moment for you, or does it feel like it's been a gradual build?
See, I had been rapping since 2019, but I ain't blow up until 2022. And so that was like it's like right after I made my first song, F and F, it's like that same week, it didn't take the song long to blow up. It blew up in like 3 days. And so I was just traveling the world like 2 days after I dropped the song, because all the labels was calling me everywhere. And so Yeah, my life changed right after I dropped that song.
What is the thing you're still adjusting to with it right now?
I mean, I done adjusted for the most part. It's just like, now I'm adjusting to, like, I know people don't be good people. Like, I'm a genuinely good person. And getting into this world now that I'm in, I just see, like, people's intentions don't be good, and a lot of people not genuine. That part be me up because I'm such a genuine good person. So that's what I got to get used to, knowing that everybody's intentions ain't good.
I think that's a tough thing that any of us go through, like in this spot. Like when you get to a point of where you're like famous in a sense, or people want something from you. Everybody wants something from you, and like it really is hard to decipher. Like I can't imagine how it would have been if I didn't have you guys in my life, like being in Cleveland. How many people approach me about doing X, Y, Z, and it's hard to find out who has good intentions and who doesn't.
For sure, because if you knew money, you just made money. This guy want to sell you cars. This guy wants to be your jeweler. This guy wants to be all that. Figure it out. What was that like for you here? Because people don't talk about this, but for producers, it's extremely difficult because you guys build these catalogs that become very valuable way later in life.
Right.
It's a different thing than being like an artist when you make a hit record and you make all this money now. Producers' catalogs actually get more valuable over time.
Right.
But people like, I know you went through that deal where you had a deal at the beginning that took a long time to get out of.
Yeah, it's crazy because I'm actually still in my publishing situation.
For how long?
Your original
When
one?
I signed when I was 19 years old.
You're still in your
I'm about
original?
to be 37, so y'all been in the deal for a long time. Yeah, it's a co-pub with Universal Publishing and Polo, and it's just the the way it was set up is just ancient terminology in the contracts, and I just now thanks to like Desiree and Jay-Z and people like that really like kind of got me to the place I'm in now where I have an end date, but before my whole career I was working without having an actual end date to the way we really get our money, which is through publishing, you know what I mean? So I'm like, just a little bit more out, and that's gonna be like life-changing for me, you know what I mean? Just to even have freedom as a grown man, like I haven't been able to go do other deals or go get advances in different places like my counterparts have, and just like even, I eat very well, but it's like I know what it really is supposed to be, you know what I mean? And it's just like that's gonna be the day.
Your catalog is your biggest asset. Will you be able to go back and get all your rights from all your that you've made in that deal?
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna get the revisions, but it's gonna take some time. But as far as like, I just wanna really just have that peace of mind and just be a grown person able to make my own decisions for the first time in the publishing world.
You said you're almost out of that too, huh?
Yeah, almost.
Been 20 years.
Still there. Yeah,
And take us back. How's that happen? They get a young, eager artist.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I met Polo the Don on MySpace, and I seen him going crazy, doing all these big pop acts, and really just producing on that level that I was like, man, I wish to be this one day. You know what I mean? And 50,000 sounded good in 2007. You know what I mean? My pop's always been in prison most of my life. My mom had me when she was 16, so like I didn't have like that financial. I never really had to want it. I always had what I needed. You know what I mean? Something to eat, place to stay. But I like wanted more for myself. So, just like I took that opportunity and didn't have the guidance, didn't have those figures around me to tell me like, nah, they got you locked in this for a long time. Like, I would have never signed for 50 bands back then if that was the case.
That's crazy when your first experience at 17 is dealing with that. There's a lot of that in the music business too.
I mean, I had the same thing. Like,
Did you really?
Yeah, like when I signed, I think when I was 20 maybe, and then kind of same deal. Like I trusted somebody. I spent most of my 20s, high or like on drugs and just kind of like and hungry. I never looked at my bank account once.
You just wanted to work.
I just wanted to work, and I mean mostly I was here for respect. Like I grew up a battle rapper, so that was, my hunger was not for money. It was for
to win the battle.
Yeah, of course.
To be considered a great MC.
100%. So, as I grew older, I started looking at my peers and I was like, all right, well, why do they have cars and houses? And like, I'm still, sharing rentals and, all these, things that weren't adding up with the amount of fame and records that I had sold. It was 50 million sold, 60 million, all these things. And I was like, I don't have anything that's mine. And, I ended up auditing myself and finding out all these millions of dollars were missing. And I found out some of it it's funny enough, some of it had went to start YBN.
Wow.
So like, that's why Corday and I are really close, because you know, certain individuals had taken from me and started.
Was it a business person or a record label?
It was a business person.
Got it.
And
Who's
had-
your accountant?
Was your account?
Nah.
Glo wants names. Glo wants names.
I actually don't want to put them on blast because respectfully, I'm kind of like, I forgive you, and
you moved on.
And I moved on. Like, but to not see real money until you're 30 years old, and to spend 10 years kind of like in the abyss of, you know, not having anything to claim as your own. And I guess I kind of grew up that way anyway. I was very nomadic, you know, like my dad was very depressed and he slept a lot in my life. And it was kind of like Charlie in the Chocolate Factory when the grandpa had slept in the bed for so long. But I shared a bed with him, you know, in middle school. So a lot of his energy, even just physically, kind of just goes into you, you know. It's not his fault. He was just depressed, you know, like, and that was something that, yeah, again, like my headphones became my best friend, and that was where the hunger came from. Money never really mattered, I guess. And so that was why when I started, you know, getting it, I never really paid attention to it. And so it was very easy to just be like, oh, he's not even looking at it. Like,
Yeah, he ain't paying attention.
yeah, for sure. And honestly, I'm grateful because it did go to someone like, I love Corday, you know, so I'm glad that like my mom, like, I'm glad it went
funded
to
his startup.
That's a great perspective, man.
For
That's
sure.
amazing. To have that perspective.
Yeah, and Namir and all them, like, that's cool. Like, some more kids got to experience, you know.
And so you really look at it like on your own and like learn it yourself on how to deal with like the finances side of it. It's brutal. Like I kept myself, when I got to Cleveland and I started to get money and Matt was going out and working these deals for me, like I wanted to make it the same way as when I was in college and I got like a stipend check every month. So I only had my people like give me a certain amount of money every month so I couldn't get in trouble with it. Well, at the end of the day, when I want to do whatever the I wanted to do, like I still spend it anyway, type of thing.
Look,
so,
man,
like,
you provided some great times for me.
Your money went to great times.
I enjoyed some of those nights, bro. That was awesome.
no doubt.
For sure. And Hit, speaking of dads, obviously you said we all know Big Hit. Does he go like, wow, son, I'm so proud of you? How does he do?
Nah.
You sound like my dad.
I also think before
sound
you
like
even
my
go there,
dad.
before
That's
Hit even goes there, I mean, it also goes back to like he did NIP. Like I remember being in Paris when they performed that 22 times. Like, so you've been doing this for you know decades now. Like it's insane. Like
Got Nas's first Grammy.
wow.
Crazy.
Jay-Z's only Diamond record.
Crazy.
And
I don't know how that
the number one,
I don't know how that happened.
and the number one record, Texas Hold'em for B. Like you've done some amazing things. Does he say, I'm proud of you?
I mean, he's just so street like that. Like I know he
Talk
is,
about this all the time.
but like that,
Talk
he
about
just
this all
got
the
this
time.
exterior that's just like
My dad too.
gangster all the time. You know
My
what I
dad will
mean?
say it to you that he's proud of me, but never to me. It's just like something.
But that might come though, because my dad passed, and that was the second. That was the second to last thing he said to me.
Really?
He held my hand, and he didn't have much strength at all.
He had never said it to me.
It wasn't his thing. Like he was kind of, I wouldn't say institutionalized. He was like generationalized. Like he just like didn't understand rap music. He didn't understand rock music. He really wanted me to have a traditional
Job.
life.
I got it.
Yes.
And what was so the second to the last thing he said was, I'm proud of you, which had to be massive for you.
Yes.
What was the last thing he said to you?
This was when he was already kind of like crossing over, and he thought I wasn't real. He thought I was an angel. And I was like, no, Dad, it's really me. Like I'm here. And he was like, no, you aren't. Like, and then he just looks up at the sky and he goes, what a trip.
Wow.
And then that was the,
Wow, that's
Yeah.
really incredible.
I think one of the most beautiful things outside of even the music you've created and the soundtrack you've created is seeing you and your son and his grandpops, right? Like, so I think even some of the social stuff of like in the studio with Nas and your
Crazy.
son's there,
Yeah.
it's got to trip you out a little bit to see your pops and your son together.
For sure, because like, you know, I can't say I remember exactly being his age, but just like when I was my son's age, that's when my dad got locked up, so I missed them years. So it's just wild how when I see them playing, I'm like, damn, that's how we would have been if he was around them days, you know what I mean?
And have you and him talked about he's using this time with his grandson to catch up on what he missed with his own son?
Nah,
Like,
for sure. Yeah, we think about it, talk about it, then done interviews about it for sure. Like this is man, everything we do, like, it's just like reprogramming him, you know what I mean? Like the first day he got out, I just remember waking up that next morning, like 7 in the morning, and he's just like busting into these stories, and he's like, it just feel like he still thought he was on the yard, like thought I was another jail with him, and he just talking about wild. I don't want to say what it was.
No,
He talking about some craziness.
No,
stuff.
it's a shot. What was he saying? We can imagine.
Bro, like just like, you know, scrapping in prison and, you know, getting stabbed up and just wild. I'm just like, this is a mind. Like, you know what I mean?
That's what's called institutionalized.
Yeah.
Literally,
For sure.
you become the good thing is some people actually feel more comfortable back in jail.
Yeah.
Like they're not comfortable on the
sure.
street. They've been locked up so long. He was kind of part of the inspiration of your career too, right? In your life. And I know part of it was like, obviously I'm a huge Nas fan. I'm a huge Hit fan. To see y'all work over those. My favorite, by the way, is, it's funny. My favorite is the first one y'all did, King's Disease, and then Magic 3. I love those. Fever.
Wow. The start and the finish.
The start of it's weird. I like a lot in between.
That's what's
and then
up.
you got to work with your dad.
Yeah.
He went to jail when you were 5, and he just got out, right?
He went to prison when I was 3 and didn't get out till I was about to be out of high school. And then basically just like only spent a couple years out on the street since then, you know what I mean? This last run was probably the longest time we actually was locked in, because the other times he'd still be running the streets and doing what he do, just what he was programmed to do. And this time I've been keeping him like this. We had interviews, sessions, he helping with my grandson, with his grandson, with my son, you know what I mean? And just like, we really taking it there. Like, bro, we was out at the Super Bowl out in Vegas, and just like, everybody just coming up to us like, yo, man, they starting to recognize me through him. They'll see him and be like, you know what I mean? I found out about your son through your story, you know what I mean? Which is crazy, because I didn't been a part of some huge records, but now it's like, you know, it's a whole new door.
Hey, I gotta ask you, what was your reaction when you in the stew and you hear your pop say, "I'll bang on my son"?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, he really right. Like, we didn't win at each other, so I'm like, it's real. We really didn't banged on each other, so it is what it is.
I posted, I look in the mirror and I bang on myself.
Nah, for real. That's really him, man. Like, it ain't no act. You know
It's
what
been
I mean?
beautiful to see, man.
That's just pop.
Yeah, I think that's one of the dopest things I've seen today, is you like walking in with your son, getting a chance to like bring him around this stuff. It's dope.
Sure. I'm pretty much
as a kid,
full-time dad at this point. Like, he had interviews, sessions.
Sick.
Out of the 6 Nas albums, he was there for so many of them sessions, man. Just, you know, he done made his own song now. He only 4 years old. He already made his own joint.
I want to meet Big Hit one day.
For sure.
Play him, I'm a fan. We gotta let Hit go, by the way. Hit,
man, respect. Man.
Appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate y'all.
Tell Big Hit I said what's up.
Yep.
For sure, I look forward to meeting you.
Let's tap in. Appreciate y'all.
Glo, by the way, on you, talking about family and what he was saying.
For sure.
Thank you, Hit.
For sure.
Yep.
Come to the studio and give me some Hit records from you, too.
Yeah, for sure.
I need one of them Jones to hit.
Glo said she wanted one of them joints, too.
Oh, man, come on. We been overdue.
You know what's up?
What's your rap name? Big Mav?
I don't know. What would be my rap? I don't know.
Mav Star.
Yeah. Colonel Carter?
Colonel Carter's crazy. That's hard.
I wanna ask you, Glo, in doing research on you, I can count on one hand the times I've like checked our like research team and been like, can this be right? You're wearing it on your chest, your middle name.
Oh, yeah.
Hallelujah. And I'm like, is that really her middle name? And they're like, yeah, that's really her name. But it comes from your family. You come from a very religious family.
You weren't allowed to listen to any secular music, right? Growing up?
Okay, so not on the radio. Like, my mama older, so like I got older parents. Like, my dad is 73, my mama's 60. So my parents always was in their 40s and 50s while I was growing up. So they always listened to Anita Baker, you know, them type. But we did watch like 106 Park. Like, I knew who people was, but once we got in the car, we not listening to no hip hop station or nothing. They finna play straight 95.7 Hallelujah FM, like only gospel music. But I did know the music, but I just didn't know too much about it, you know what I'm saying? But when I first started rapping, the first song I ever did before I let my daddy hear it, I was talking crazy. My dad was like, what the is you talking about? What the
Wait, you played it for him?
Uh-huh. My daddy was the lesser strict parent, like, you know what I'm saying? So I didn't feel ashamed to let him hear my music, but my mama, I was so scared. Like, I didn't tell her I was rapping or nothing. Like, I was like 2 years in and didn't tell her. Like, she had no idea I was rapping, but my daddy knew. But my sister had ended up, I was in my apartment cooking one day, and my mama called me. She was like, "So you do music?" I was like, "How you know?" And so she was like, "Your sister told me." She said, "I heard your music is good." I thought she was gonna like have a lot to say because if y'all hear my music, y'all know like I talk crazy. I be talking crazy in my songs, so I was like so embarrassed. But she was like, "It's good," and so yeah, that's how they came about. Letting my parents know about my music.
And what do they say now?
They super proud of me. They text me every day, and I always tell me,
Hello.
Hey,
"Hey,
Good to
How
see
are
you.
you?
Welcome to the shop.
Thank
How
you,
are
thank
You
you.
look amazing, by the way.
Thank you.
The bomb.
hey, how are you?"
Good.
The bomb's
The
in the shop.
bomb, the
What's up,
one and
mama?
only. How are you?
How are you?
Good to see you.
Good to see you, yes.
So how do they feel? Because now you pay a lot of their bills,
Yeah, I
right?
pay their
You
bills.
pay their bills. So that rap music that they don't like.
Right, exactly.
When's your next album?
Attitudes change.
When's your next song,
Yeah,
baby?
what's
Right.
What's the next album exactly?
Speaking of family, Alycia,
Yes.
your grandmother taught you how to box. Did I make that up?
No,
you
so
come
I
from a
had,
boxing family.
yeah, I have a big boxing family up. But my grandma, she was a warrior, so I get my confidence in just her way of life. Just what that looks like, just being a dominant, confident woman in every room, in every aspect. And that's why I do what I do. I love to fight, right? And so when you step in that ring, you gotta know who you are, for one, and you really gotta believe in yourself because
Have you lived to fight since a kid?
I think I was just competitive, whatever sport it was.
Did you get into a lot of like street fights
That's
as a
what I was
kid?
just about to ask.
So no, like very non-confrontational because nobody messed with me. They were all intimidated. They're like, I'm not messing with her. But I'm like super sweet, but like, press them buttons, something
So
gonna
what
happen.
made you know that's what you love?
I think it's because, again, I just wanted to test myself. It was more like, my dad was like, you want to box? I was like, sure, I'll box. It's all boys. And I just think it just built this confidence. And like I said, just being the woman I am today, I can protect myself. I can help other women. And it just, again, builds that confidence. So I'm like, well, I'm gonna try it. And I was great at it. So I'm beating the boys. I'm beating them on the mat, in the ring. I'm like, oh, I love this. But I was still so humble that, they just left me alone. So I think that was it's a best disguise, I'll say that.
Can you ever get comfortable with taking a hit? Like I played football, I never was comfortable with, I never liked getting hit. Do you walk in the ring like, oh, I'm cool with, if I get punched in the face, it's just what it is?
It sounds crazy, but I low-key like it. And it's like.
You were like that?
Loved it.
It's just like, oh, okay, bet. But I'm not gonna go in there just to get hit.
Of course
But
not.
if it happens, I'm like, okay, bet. It just, I don't know. Plus, your adrenaline is pumping in there.
Does it free you up a little bit times after you get hit one time?
It does.
The first kind of, so in a game when I would have to call a run play, or Cliff Kingsbury would call a run play
So
to
you
start
can
of a
tackle.
game every time so somebody could hit me.
And
And
you
then
s-
after that, my nerves
Yeah.
went from 10 to 0,
That's a good point.
immediately automatically. It's something about that first time, if you're comfortable with it, she already knows when you step in the ring like that, there's a chance you can get caught with one.
Sure.
Same way, if you're not paying attention in the pocket, these guys are coming after to take your head off and you may get caught with one.
Can you imagine what we do? You step into the boardroom, you gotta get punched in your face just to calm down for your big presentation.
I know exactly what he's saying because you get nervous before
Yeah, of
every.
course.
You have to know your distance. That's another thing. Boxing is strategy when you're in there. So again, a fighter that I fought, she was taller than me. So now I'm trying to see what my range is because she a little longer. Okay, now I gotta cut the distance and come in a little shorter so I can hit with this body shot she don't see coming. You know what I mean? So it's just those things, but I love it. It's fun. The hard part's the training part, but when you're in there, it's fun. You got the crowd, it's loud.
Do you hear the crowd in the ring?
I do. I hear bits and pieces of certain people, but for the most part, I'm really locked in and zoned in. But it's certain voices that I can hear.
Like your trainer's voice, you obviously.
Yeah, my trainer. It could be somebody in the crowd knock that out. I'm like, bet.
Got you.
You know what I mean?
Heard you.
I hear you.
Well, I want to go back to the topic that you were talking about. Someone stealing from me, I was thinking, I steal from myself. Sometimes I look at my own, I audit myself, I'm like, who spent that 50,000? They're like, you bought that. I'm like, oh, I guess I did. There's nobody else to blame, but I'm like, now at my age, I'm 42, I have kids, whatever, it's like, I sometimes go well, money is to buy things and to get things you need and to buy things you want, and experiences but you can't, I guess you can run out of things you want.
I like buying conversation piece things.
That's a good point, because you learn about people.
Yes, and also that like memories seems like it's more valuable than currency.
100%.
So when you can show, like I was at a bookstore one time, I was in Santorini, and I said, what rare books do you have? And he said, I have a pencil signed Picasso piece. Like it's a book. Like George Macy from Macy's used to have like an underground book club, or like he sent books to 1,200 friends, right? And like he would have the most popular artists of that time redesign a classic story. So like they would, you know, Dali would do like Peter Pan or whatever.
Sure.
And I'm not saying that's what he did, but the one that I had bought was a Greek story, and it was illustrated by Picasso, and he signed it in pencil, and it was 35 grand. And I was like, I'll take it. And that's 35 grand, so it's a lot of money. Everybody that comes to my house.
It's like, tell me about that.
100%. Like there's and you could take an eraser and erase this Picasso signature just like that. And it's, you know, even down to like the wallpaper in my house, it's ridiculous. It's like a pink leopard sphinx all over, you know, like, but it's conversation pieces and it's memories.
They make memories.
I like spending money on something a little bit more than just like the.
Because in the end, that's all you have is memories.
Yeah, it's got meaning to that. It's like got such a deeper meaning than just like going out and buying something that's accessible to other people, right? Going and buying that watch or that car or whatever it is. That's like it's a different thing.
It's like what he did in the city. That's what I'm saying.
For
Like
sure.
he provided these nights that we walked away with, and we're like, bro, Johnny Football was in there. He bought the whole bar out for everybody. It was crazy, you know. Like, and I'm 26 or something when he's doing it. It's
For
like,
sure.
yo, he provided a memory for everybody.
But you still feel.
100%.
Glo, were you on that cycle of like, as you said, 2022 just got popping, you know, just dropped a song, like making money, about to make a lot more, and that whole pendulum of like, what makes you happy and where does money play? And that is always a difficult thing to navigate. Were you on that?
Well, of course, people always say money can't buy happiness. But me, like, I'm still cheap as like, I still like look at a bottle of water, and if it's $4, I'd be like, what the hell nah, give me the $2 bottle. Like, I'm cheap as hell, like, and I ain't gonna lie, like my first year I blew up, this was before I got an accountant. I was just spending money, like, and I'm like, okay, I'm getting it, I'm making it, but I'm spending it too. So like, I really wasn't just in tune, like how you were saying, like, you weren't just looking at it like that. And so God here got me in accounting and stuff. And so like now he helped me like navigate my money more. And so now once I actually see that I'm spending it, I ain't gonna lie, sometimes I be spending a lot of money, I don't even want to look at my bank account because I just know I spend too much money.
Welcome to the club. I look at it, don't look at it all the time. I never look at it.
I swear to God, I be like, I know I just went ham this whole weekend. I ain't even finna look at my
I just
bank
gonna go
account
back
and
to work.
disappoint
Fuck it.
myself.
Yes.
Like, I know
what do
I
you
spent
say
too much.
when you get the thing? You gotta do what?
What?
We gotta make
Just
more
gonna
money.
make more. That's
Right.
the only option.
That
Go
be the
back to work.
mentality. I'm gonna get it right back, but I
Right.
still be like, I don't even want to look at what I just did to my bank account Friday. Like, I know I, you know.
By the way, Machine Gun Kelly, I could listen to your stuff and be like, oh, he's obviously a talented rapper, but that's not my style. So I like wrote you off in the sense I can't be a fan because that's just not, I'm not a wild dude. Everybody who knows me know I'm calm. I mean, so like, that's not my style. But then when I started studying you as a person and got to know you much later, I'm like, oh, this is that. And now listening to you just now, like, oh, I think things that are memories, like, oh, I'm like, no, you and I are the same type of, literally the same type of person, but was there a moment for you where you were like, oh, this character that I've created, I now need to be just me and MGK? Like,
Absolutely.
Did something happen or was it just over time?
Well, one, I got on, like, you know, I so much I envy Glo because she came out with FNF and it just seemed like she was herself already. Like that felt like she's standing on that, right? Like I grew up in front of the cameras very young, 18, 19, 20. Me, Wiz Khalifa, and Soulja Boy, I believe were the first rappers to ever start like YouTube vlogs. Like we were the first ones ever doing that. And you know, you put videos of you up at 18, 19, 20, like you're an idiot.
Of course.
You know, like, yeah, like,
It's gonna be a bunch of dumb.
100%. And you know, and then growing up in front of cameras from 20 to all this stuff, I had no parents. I had, you know, my idols are like, I mean, you know.
Of course.
Lil Wayne, Motley Crue, whoever, I don't know, name it. Like these are people that you're like, all right, I gotta be like this. Dude, I'm like a dork. I'm like a You know, I'm like a kid who like doesn't know anything. I'm just like a lost boy trying to find something to belong to, you know, like, and music was always that for me. And so you wrote me off at a stage, but then I grew, and then maybe some people found me at that stage, or maybe some people wrote me off then. So there's an album called Hotel Diablo, and it came right after like a very infamous beef I had. It's my most proud album I had, and it did really well as well, but it was written off, like no critics would review it. It was kind of like, people had a bad taste in their mouth, so they're like, nah. But if you listen to my voice is even different. And I learned when I was in studio session with Pharrell, this was recently, but I learned like, you know, your voice reflects like where you are in life. Like my voice on Wild Boy was very constricted.
Yeah.
It was like an affect I had. Now my voice is pure, it sounds like who I am. You know, it's like, it's grounded, it's in itself.
And Pharrell taught you that? He was talking.
I mean, I noticed it when I hear those albums. I listen to Hotel Diablo, and I'm like, damn, like I'm a fan of that album. I love that album. And then when Pharrell was saying, like, because I couldn't hit a falsetto. We were trying to do a song. I couldn't hit a falsetto. And, you know, he was just like, the more truth you bring into your body, like the less you constrict yourself. Yes. I am in an interesting position of now trying to gain people back who I might have lost, because you know, MGK it's a very famous name and face, but like ultimately why I got in this game is the respect. I don't want to lose anybody. I want everybody to be like, bro can rap his stuff, he makes great songs.
Yeah, you are, for sure. Something he said I want to talk to you about was like people writing you off. You obviously had the WBC where you're now working with them fighting for athletes, right? But you're the issue, I think Canelo went through it.
False positive.
False positive. Right. Of like testing for something that was banned, it was false. Do you think people wrote you off when that happened, and how's it been going through that?
I think that was part of it, but I feel like I've been written off, you know what I mean? I think because what I offer and what I bring to the sport is different, and they want to know why are you this good? Why are you able to do 1, 2, and 3? Be able to talk, be able to fight, be able to look good doing it, all these things. You know, when people are investing in those things, they're trying to nitpick what they can do to take you down, in a sense, you know what I mean? And I feel like at the biggest stage of my career, you know, I'm hit with this scandal of this false positive, and I'm like, yo, this is wild. So I would say that period of 9 months, you know, boxing has no union. I'm doing this all by myself.
How did you find out? Tell us how that false positive happened and who called you. And
yes, so, you know, I had my homecoming fight in July in Detroit. Awesome show, sold out show, is amazing. We've been waiting for that moment for a long time. And, you know, July, August, I got a phone call. My manager called me, he's in London. You know, we're in negotiation stage at this point. We've been in negotiations with re-signing for 4 months, you know, just backstory, that's what that is. And, you know, I get a phone call, and it's crazy because how I look, how I've always looked, I have a natural build. This is how I've always looked as a 4-year-old with muscles.
You was one of those little strong kids.
I was one of those strong kids on the playground, you know what I'm saying? It was just not your norm, you know what I mean? So, you know, as an adult, you know, I get this phone call and they're like, yeah, you tested positive for steroids. I'm like, is this a joke? I know this is a joke. My heart just sank because I'm like, wow. Like, something that I knew could potentially happen just because of how I looked, I was already prejudged, you know what I'm saying? And I'm an athlete of integrity. I never had to cheat in my life. I'm great at what I do. I'm blessed at what I do. So again, when you're great at something, people want to take you down. So, you know, whatever, I get the phone call, so I'm like, dang, you know, now this about to be out in the news, and I had to get my own lawyers. I had to get experts. I did the whole 9 and spent my own money on this thing. Again, boxing doesn't have a union. And when you're a woman in the sport, you know how women's sports are already. And in the boxing game, it's even worse. We're not treated with equality when it comes to pay and just the respect of what I do. I train just as hard as these men, as my male counterparts. Like, I'm blessed to have them to work with. But it's like, let's put some respect on the real issue. You know what I'm saying? We are both going in that ring, risking our lives, you know, with 8-ounce gloves on, no headgear, you know what I'm saying, for y'all entertainment, you know what I mean? These things happen in sports, you know what I'm saying? False positives happen, you know what I'm saying? So we need to make sure that this doesn't happen again, that we're doing proper testing. What company's testing you? What precautions
Did they give you an
are they
explanation
taking?
why it was what happened? Did they contaminate it or?
No. I mean, like, I had to do that.
Did you feel any sort of vindication when WBC came out and said, hey, it could have been a false positive?
Yeah, absolutely, because I was able to talk to them. So what's great about the WBC is that we have a great relationship, and I explained to them. They were able to hear me out. They were able to look at the evidence that I provided to the sanctioning body, stating that I have always been a clean athlete, that I represent clean athletes and a clean program. Because again, I'm an advocate. There's young girls and kids looking up to me, and representation matters. And I want to make sure that this doesn't happen again, and that athletes are taking precautions when it comes to testing. Testing does need to happen. I'm all for that, but we also need to look at the bigger counterparts on what testing companies are we using and things like that. And athletes doing maybe testing on the side.
For sure.
Because this shouldn't happen. Like, it just shouldn't.
Should not. When you listen to that story, it's like it can happen in the blink of an eye. You're like, something changed. It's totally out of your control. Like, Glo, do you ever think about that now? Because obviously everything seemed to happen to you so fast. Do you ever get nervous? Like,
I be super cautious, and then I got a great team like Gotti. I'm actually glad I signed to him. I feel like that's one of the best decisions I made right now, because like he always got an eye out for everything. Gotti, like, he a hood, he from the hood, but he like got a lot of sense. Like, he's super smart, and so I'm glad I got him and my team as an engine behind me. Like, they always tell me what not to do. Like, you know, sometimes I might get carried away and be like, nah, I'm gonna do this, but they always telling me right. Like, if I do something wrong, it be because, you know my ego sometimes, but for the most part, they keep me on point, you know what I'm saying? And I'm always looking out too, like I ain't just no crash dummy, so I be looking out.
and was like one time where they was telling you do this and you was like, I'm gonna do this, and then you came back and was like, actually they were right.
Get off the internet and I stayed on it.
That sound like me, like, get off Twitter.
They
said, don't get on Twitter.
Put your phone down,
They said, do not get on there. Like, God text me those times, do not. And I was like, I did it for like 5 minutes. I said, it. I got right on there.
Hey, you can never win on Twitter.
You can't.
You can never win on Twitter. They're too good.
Yeah,
No, seriously.
You can never win.
But the day LeBron was rapping, you definitely got on that day, because everybody's seen that.
Oh, you know, like, it was so crazy to me. I thought it was fake.
Really?
Yeah, I thought it was fake. I thought maybe somebody, like, I ain't gonna lie, I thought somebody called him and told him to do it or something, because I didn't think he was doing it. Because, like I said, LeBron don't be doing it to everybody music. So I'm like, like I was a geek.
That's like a universal feeling when you have LeBron like do something for you though. Like I remember when we did the tees with Nike, and then you sent me a picture of him and the Money Manziel tee, and I was like, you photoshopped that. That's not like real life. I think that's like the LeBron effect of the whole thing.
But he don't.
Yeah.
His mom's name is Glo too. I didn't even ask you about it. I just seen it.
Yeah, oh yeah, I did hear his
Did you know that?
Gloria,
his mom's name is Gloria, like yours for sure. And you just got invited to the White House, by the way, right?
Yeah.
So everything is happening for Glo.
Yeah.
Everything is happening. She got invited to the White House.
You know, being a girl from Memphis, you know, that ain't really never happened before. So I just feel super blessed, and I feel like God just shined his light on me. I feel highly favored because everybody don't get invited to the White House.
Of course.
And like I said, coming from where I come from, and then even in my profession, like just being like, you know, a girl from Memphis, you know, from the ghetto, and being able to be invited to the White House, like that was everything to me.
Well, I don't know if you caught, there was an incredible quote that came out of that visit that set Twitter on fire. We talked about Twitter, and it was at the end of the day.
The day got to end.
And with that,
I ain't lying.
It's a wrap. Thank you, guys. I had a version of that relationship with my dad. It was like I became the dad and he became the son.
Like, he'd text me about the most basic thing, and I'm just like, bro, like, nah, that's not really how it works, you know what I mean? I'll be having to put him on artists.
Like what?
When he got out, he didn't know who Lil Uzi was. Like, I said a bar in a song, and he was like, why you call my Uzi Lil? I was like, nah, I'm not talking about a rapper. His name is Lil Uzi, you know what I mean? Like, just stuff like that.